In the Senate, we believe there's a level of funding that the classrooms and the teachers need. We want the school districts to cut from the administrative side, but we want to be sure that we can fund the classrooms and the teachers while living within our means. The average school district under the Senate budget would lose between 4 and 8%. In the House budget, they lose anywhere from 14 to 25%. We in the Senate believe that we need to fund our classrooms and our teachers at a reasonable reduction, and I believe that school districts can live with a 5 to 8% cut. We have cut education $4 billion. If it were up to the teachers' unions and superintendents, they would not only have us not cut, they would have us spend more that we don't have.
After we've doubled spending in education in the last 10 years.
Yes, and when I listen to our conservatives and our Tea Party friends, and you know, I'll probably have the top conservative voting record in the Senate again, or right there at 1 or 2 with my conservative track record. My Tea Party members and conservative Republicans in our district and across the state understand that they have kids in school too. And so they want us to cut, and they want us to cut from the administration side. Now, we can't control that, but the administration are cutting back their budgets, and they're cutting the non-teacher portion of education. So our focus in the Senate is not money on education, it's money in the classroom and money to teachers. And one of the things that a lot of folks don't understand, Jim, and this is what frustrates me about basically the teacher associations killing these two bills, because the Democrats are killing these two bills. And here's the issue. School districts are not allowed to cut teachers' pay by $1. Not $1. School districts cannot cut teachers' pay below 2011 levels at all. This was an amendment that I voted against and others voted against, but the Democrats got through last session.
Last session. 2011, 2009.
They got through in 2009. So you take a school district, any school district, if they could cut teacher salaries by 1%, they could probably save all the teachers, or 90% of them. But I'll give you an example.
And does it apply just to teachers or teachers and administrators?
Teachers.
Just teachers.
To teachers. So we had testimony from a school district that said, for example, if we have $5 billion in cuts, they have enough teachers. If they cut 1%, that would cover $5 million. If they can't cut teacher salaries by 1%, they're going to have to lay off 100 teachers. So the teacher unions are going to be the ones responsible for teachers being fired, because we are going to cut spending in education in the Senate or the House or whatever the compromise ends up being. But school districts need the flexibility, like any business does, to adjust payroll within reason. And the other thing that both of these bills would provide is to allow furloughs. Each school district has 4 to 7 days of non-teaching days where teachers are in the schools. And if they could furlough 1 or 2 days, non-paid, non-classroom days, that would save the district millions. And this amounts up to a lot of money across the state, where we have 300,000 teachers. And if school districts aren't given flexibility to reduce salaries at some level or furlough a few days, then teachers there are going to be more teachers who will lose their jobs unnecessarily.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Let's jump to another education subject, and that is charter schools. Some people believe they do deliver more bang for their buck. They're funded at slightly lower levels. You've been pushing for their expansion, more teachers, one-on-one or more student-oriented teaching. How's that coming?
Yeah. Well, I passed the charter bill last session. It passed 30-1 out of the Senate and never came up for vote in the House. I passed it again this session, and it has not come up for vote in the House. Charter schools we have 56,000 people waiting on wait lists for charter schools. We've reached our cap, a little over 200. And there are some charters, about 10%, that are low performing, that are not, and they need to be closed down. So one of the things my bill does is give the Commissioner of Education more power. He's been trying to close one for 9 years. We need to close down the bad ones. But there are so many excellent charter schools, and half the kids in charters are high-risk students, dropout students. They're not the cream of the crop. A lot of people, if you haven't seen the movie Waiting for Superman, if you care about education, see Waiting for Superman. It's a documentary on education.
Where you're right, the at-risk kids, the economically disadvantaged, they can't be expected oftentimes to go into the typical seat in the chair type program.
Right, and so charter schools are an answer. And a lot of people think these kids are handpicked. No, it's a lottery. It's a lottery. Kids, there's 56,000 people.
With a waiting list.
With a waiting list that put their names in a hat and they're drawn out at random. So charter schools, the reason we need to expand them is to help reduce the waiting list, to help these at-risk students. One of the things that we have to understand in Texas is we have to have an educated workforce for the future.
Well, let me ask you, what's the problem in the House, if I may?
The problem in the House is obvious.
Stronger presence over there. Let
me put it this way: with 101 Republicans, it's not the Democrats killing it in the House.
Well said.
Okay.
I'll take that as a good an answer as we're going to get.
Right. I mean, the teachers' unions have influence over the Democrats, but I need Republicans to get behind this, and we need to get it moving.